Good morning to all. I welcome you all for the day 2, session 2 for 1 week Atal FTP on electric vehicles, challenges and opportunities in future India. It is my pleasure and privilege to introduce a resource person to the participants. Dr. Kaushal Kumar Jha is an adjunct professor at the Department of Engineering Design at IIT Madras. He is a resource person for this session now. Dr. Kaushal Kumar Jha is an adjunct professor at the Department of Engineering Design at IIT Madras. He also served as a senior advisor in Center for Battery Engineering and Electric Vehicles at IIT Madras, and he is a CEO of Center of Excellence in Energy and Telecommunication and R&D Society of IIT Madras. There, he contributed to the India-specific cutting energy R&D in lithium-ion battery packs and motor thermal management, charger development, and recycling of lithium-ion cells. He is a principal investigator and founder of Noon Ray Energy Private Limited, which is specialized in thermal management solutions for automotive, EV, aerospace, commercial HVAC, and electronics. He consults for various organizations in the field of automotive thermal and energy management. He holds a PhD from IIT Madras in mechanical engineering, and he has more than 10 years of experience in industrial and academic R&D. Now I request Dr. Kaushal Kumar sir to take over the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shankaramurthy sir. So
Yes, thank you, sir.
I'll start sharing my screen with the contents.
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible, sir. Okay. Sir.
Okay. So you have already my nice introduction by sir, and I'll start something new. In automotive domain, we keep on doing from the long time, at least from the couple of years from the down. Maybe around 2005 onward, that something co-simulation started. So what I'll do, I'll first talk about co-simulation, what is a co-simulation, and then how it would be good to apply in EV and especially in thermal management of EV. Wherever you have a question, you can ask me then and there, or you can wait for the session to be finished. I'll take around 1 hour 15 minutes to 1 hour 30 minutes to complete these slides. Maybe 5 to 10 minutes. At the end, we can have a question answer. In between also, if you're very curious, you can always stop me. So let's move. So the content, what I will be talking about, EV system with thermal management, various level of modeling. And then something I'll talk about V-cycle of a product development. And when I talk about V-cycle of product development, there I'll try to explain what the co-simulation is. Then various level of subsystem modeling, 0D, 1D, 2D, 3D. And then I'll talk about a 1D high fidelity modeling, and that's the final thermal management co-simulation. So if you see, the EV system requires thermal management. What are the systems which requires the thermal management? When I say EV system, it could be an energy storage system. When I say energy storage system, it's essentially a battery. It could be a lithium-ion battery, it could be a lead-acid battery, it could be a fuel cell, whatever things which can provide the energy to the vehicle. In IC engine vehicle, it's basically a petrol or diesel tank. But in EV, it's an energy storage system, and it could be from anything. So mostly what we deal today is lithium-ion batteries. Then we have E-drive, motors plus transmission, which propel the vehicle on the road. Then we have various power electronics. When I say power electronics, then some of the part comes as a motor controller. Small parts also goes into the battery as a BMS and the current limiting circuits. And then different other aspects like electronics module, like ECUs, as a whole BMS also you can say. And other than this subsystem, you also need a thermal management of the cabin. That's essential because a passenger or driver is going to sit in that and he must be thermally comfortable. And that's how it also becomes very important to have a cabin comfort inside the vehicle other than the component. These components are essentials, but the vehicle would be purchased by the customer or some human. So we have to always keep in mind of their comfort. And when I say comfort, it's a various different comforts, but what we talk about is thermal comfort. Now, next, we talk about levels of modeling. So what are the levels of modeling? So we do 0D. It's only dependent on of time, no space constraint. That means X, Y, Z or R, theta. There is no dependency on the any space coordinates. It's a dependent only on the time. And such type of things we see at the 0D generally leads to an ODE which can be solved analytically. So and as soon as you have analytical solutions, it's a very far. A very good for generally sensitive analysis. When I say sensitivity analysis, that means you change some parameters, what would be the impact, overall impact on the whole system. If you change a parameter of one subsystem, let's suppose battery temperature, if I changing the battery temperature, what would be the energy consumption of whole system? So if that type of studies, if you wanted to do, then it's ideal for that one. As example, it's equivalent to cell models, functional mockups, such type of things. Now, when I say 1D, as soon as I say 1D, that means one space constraint comes. One of the space coordinates like either X or Y or Z, and time is also there. This leads to a partial differential equation, and generally such type of partial differential equation, when you have only one space, or generally you can get an analytical solution for that one. For example, it's a range estimation, thermal system modeling, etc. Now, when I say 2D, that means two space constants comes into the picture, X, Y, or YZ, or XZ, as well as T. This includes two space dimension complex PDs. Now, as soon as more than one space coordinates comes into the picture, or space dimensions comes into the picture, the resulting partial differential equation becomes complex, and it's most of the time you don't get an analytical solution, so you have to solve it numerically, like 2D plate conduction. So the batteries would be kept over a plate, we say cooling plate. So how the conduction takes place in that, so such type of example. 3D, that means three space coordinate X, Y, Z and T, or if you go to other form where R and theta. So in such type of things we say 3D. So it includes 3D space dimension, and it's the leading partial differential equation is much more complex. Something like battery thermal runaway, motor cooling, battery 3D cooling, 3D simulations, all those things become part of this. So what you see, if we move from 0D to 3D, what you require? High investment. That means to solve a complex problem, you need high numeric, very high investment numerical methods. Modeling effort, that becomes very high. Physics and fidelity, you get more resolution, spatial resolution, with the time what exactly is happening, but that leads to much increased computational cost. The output time would be much higher. In general, the result and accuracy will also be very high. So now we talk about what's the V cycle of a product development. Then we can club together that's with the V cycle, how the co-simulation can work good. So what happens, initially you design a specification, and when you design a specification, then you try to quickly check that a specification is meeting to your requirement or not. And in such cases, mostly 0D simulation takes only in time. No space constraints, we do that. Now, as soon as you keep on specifying the things in much shorter range, that means now your tolerances has become much shorter. In that case, we started doing a bit of 1D, that means one space coordinate comes into the fact. Later on, and generally when we do these things, generally this would be at the whole system level. Now, later on, we cascade it down the system level to the subsystem level. And as soon as we go to subsystem level, then we start 0D, the first assumption, then we do 1D, and then we do 2D, 3D. So like if you have to check the airflow requirement of a vehicle to thermal management system. So thermal management system, first we put the vehicle system as a complete vehicle system, the whole specification, there we did 0D. Now later we have subdivide it. Okay, now thermal management system, ride and handling, NVH and all those things. Now let's take thermal management system. So in thermal management system, we generally do 0D, 1D, both. Then we further cascaded it down to now what would be the condenser size, what would be the radiator size, what would be the, then again we do 0D, 1D, and then 2D also. Okay, what would be the airflow requirement, what would be my frontal area, those things. What would be the temperature inside my battery, what would be the temperature inside my motor, and then we start doing 2D, and then subsequently if I wanted to find out where would be the hottest spot, then we do go for the 3D. So that's all. Now, as soon as we have done this one, then the other side, we start making the prototype. We start making the prototype. So as soon as we freeze the specification completely here, then we also start making prototype. When we start making prototype, then we start checking again one by one that how good my simulations, because when we say prototype, then we start from the subsystem. Like first we make a condenser, then
Dear participants, please stay on the same link.
are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So I think power has gone, so that's how a few minutes.
Okay. Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay, so this is one arm of the V, and the other arm of the V. So generally, what we do here, we take vehicle here, and then we cascade it down to system, and then subsystem, and then component. Now here, what we do, first we make the components, and when we make the components, we generally do the high fidelity simulations, like 2D, 3D. Now, when we move up, now the components become subsystem, then we start reducing the order of simulation, like we may go to only 2D and 1D. And when we make the full vehicle, then we check everything with 1D and 0D. So that is how the product development cycles takes place. Now, when we club all those things together, that becomes a co-simulation. So what is the expectation? What we require, what is the expectation from the simulation is the fast result turnout. Large and diverse results with high impact. These are the expectation. minimum investment because we are not making any part. We are checking everything in the virtual environment. When such things happen, what's the reality basically? Generally, the results are very, very slow. It may take months to convert one full 3D simulation. The results what we get may not be of a good significance. It might give only the negligible significance. It turns out to be much higher investment than initially thought. So that's how the domain expertise comes. So the person from the domain expertise, they start working on the things that, okay, this would be the expected result and that has come from my simulation or not. So when the expectation and reality mix together and give you the exact result what you wanted, then only you say your virtual simulation or the co-simulation works out properly. About co-simulation, why it is needed? Now you take right side, there is a picture of thermal management system where you have a condenser, evaporator, cold plate, TXVs, multiple circuits, and then you have a battery pack at the bottom, and this communicates with each other through either through direct cold air flow, or might be a chiller system, or might be direct refrigerant system. And what we wanted to know basically about this system is that's how my temperature profile looks like up in the battery pack, and that cannot be done with the 3D system. And if I use 3D simulation, and if I start doing the 3D simulation for evaporator, cold plate, condenser,
Yes, sir. Some power problem may be there. The sir will connect soon.
this simulation, sometime I may have to couple hardware simulation also. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now it's
Yeah, so power came, so again one disconnection, so I'm sorry.
okay.
So so I hope people would have heard about why it is needed. So what we require is multiple component of a complex system, and that not only the system, it's also designed in different software, different modeling level. What I was talking here, that when I have to do the simulation of 3D of whole condenser, evaporator, cold plates, as well as AC circuits, and then the battery, it may take months. However, if I have to do only the 3D simulation of the battery, it would be might be some days. So what I would like to do, that this whole system, the thermal management system, I may like to go with only 1D, because what is my output is the temperature of the air, which I am sending it into the battery pack to cool it down. But how that air is getting distributed inside the battery pack, that required a 3D effort, 3D simulation, so that I'll do it here. So in that case, in couple of days, I can get the whole picture of the battery pack thermal management. That's how the temperature is doing, where is the hottest spot, what would be the temperature, how the temperature uniformity would be, where air is not reaching, what should I change in the design to make that air to reach each and every corner, so that I don't have a temperature differential anywhere. Not only the simulation, sometimes not only the software simulation, sometimes we also have to work together with the hardware like BMS. What would be the charge and discharge rate, that I can put a hardware there and I can simulate that hardware, that would be the charge and discharge rate, because the battery temperature depends upon the charge and discharge rate also. So many times we have to even couple hardware and software together on the real-time basis. What we require is to understand the component level physics in much better detail, in much greater detail, and that's where the co-simulation helps a lot. It reduces the time, it reduces the investment, it gives us the result of interest, area of concern in much detailed way. What happens in co-simulation? Now, when you're using multiple space constraints or hardware or software or multiple software, then the physical signal, the signal from one system to other system need to be synchronized. That means whenever that one system requires, like in the previous case here, the temperature is coming from this system. So this temperature should be synchronized with this simulation of the air simulation of this battery pack. So the physical simulation common for two the simulations. What is the common here? The temperature of air is in the last example what I have shown, the temperature of air. That should be matching with the every time stamp, and it should exchange the right values, because based upon the temperature, the thermal that evaporator, condenser and other things work, what temperature is given by the battery, and that what air temperature goes inside, based upon that the temperature of the battery pack would be determined. As example, another example, you can take vehicle speed. Like if we wanted to make the vehicle speed, so in that case, the air value and the air velocity in 3D model, 3D underhood model, where my motors and other systems are there. In that case, that velocity should match with each other. So if you see the example here, so what we have a sinusoidal wave here. So that's maybe some parameters like that way. And when we are doing 1D, it would be in discrete form. But in that discrete form should be such a way that it should mimic that situation. So time step marching, like 1D 1 second, 3D 001 1 millisecond. So either in 3D, this 001 millisecond could be averaged out for every second, and that information can go to 1D model. And that 1D model 1 second can be discretized to the 3D model, like what we are discretizing here. And then it goes as a 0.001 millisecond to the 3D model. Or what we can do, every 1 second, whatever value is coming, so directly go to 3D for that 1 second, and from that 1 second to 2 seconds, the same value should be used. And whatever at 1 second the value is coming from 3D model should go back to the 1D model as it is. So either we can average it out in during the simulation, or we can use as it is on that particular time stamp. So there are several ways of doing that one. Time interval synchronization, and what I said, another one is extrapolation. Now, benefit of co-simulation. What is the benefit of co-simulation? Generally, it's modular in nature, very high flexibility, whereas a full system is wherever the full system is built from the several standalone sub-simulation. Like one can do battery thermal management in something known as GTCOT, or maybe if we wanted to go to 3D simulation like ANSYS or STAR CCM, and then you wanted to do the BMS simulation or electrical simulation in the MATLAB. So it is possible that co-simulation can club or link both the things together at one go. So whatever is happening in actual would be felt by the battery. So it's a modular in nature and provides very high degree of flexibility. The models can be developed efficiently in parallel. Like one person can do the electrical design or electronic design or communication design in the MATLAB. At the same time, one person can do the mechanical design in CATIA, linked with CATIA or SolidWorks, and link that to the Fluent or STAR CCM or GT. It also has a very, means when I say co-simulation, you can include hardware, you can include software, you can also include human in loop, in the sense how the human feels that one. So all the three things are possible with much relative ease and consistency. It has the ability to leverage specialized tool chains and domain specific knowledge. So like I'm very good in thermal management. So one can utilize my thermal management expertise only to develop the thermal model. A person who is very good in the electrical design or BMS design can be utilized. And then only thing is that this has to be interfaced with each other. You can have both the approaches, open approach as well as black box approach. That means if I wanted to preserve my IP, then I'll make it as a black book approach. Whatever data you require, only that data would pass. But what is happening in my system, you would not know. Only I'll be knowing. But your system, whatever is desired by your system, it will communicating with that thing. It generally helps whenever the vendor and the OEM together work out something, like vendor have a thermal management system or they have BMS, and that OEM will make a vehicle. So the IP of that thermal management system lies with that vendor. He'll only pass on the information what you require at the vehicle level. What is happening inside is his problem. He'll take care of that one. So, but when I say open nature, so he'll give you all the box together. That's okay. This is what it is, and this is how you can work out. These are the changes you wanted to do, you can do, or you wanted to change it completely, you can change it completely. This sub simulators, when I say that the various simulation, the thermal simulation or the electrical simulation or communication simulation, all the things can run in parallel in the various different machines. And only what is required is the communicating with each other with the synchronized timestamp. What co-simulation will not do? Many of the times it may create a problem that different submodels may not play together nicely. And when that thing happens, what one need to find out, where is the problem, and then just attack that problem, try to solve that problem. It requires a good understanding at system level and interface. Not only component, system, and interface. This all three things together, it's required. Defining connection between submodels. Now, you don't know electrical design people, what are the things he require. At the same time, a thermal design engineer will not know what is required. What is required? So it has to be, so you must know what data should pass on to each other. What are the information need to be passed on the various models. Various large range of co-simulation algorithms are available, but difficult to choose which would work best for you. Like one of the thing is that constant time interval communication. Now, as I discussed earlier, that what we want at 1 second data or 0.001 second data at one place. So when you have only 1 second data, you have to interpolate, extrapolate it to 0.001 second. When you have, and there is always chance of some error in that case, if you don't do it properly, if you don't understand the physics properly. The various software tools, Poly, Flowmaster, MATLAB, Simulink, Functional Mockup Interface, ANSYS, SimulationX, Python, ANSYS Fluent. So there are several software. A lot of things has been done in the Excel itself, Aerial Cruise. So there are a lot of simulation tools available, and that many of them support simulation. In many of the cases, this tool itself supports the co-simulation. But sometimes when we don't have, then there are standalone tools exist like TISC, which can communicate with each other. That what should we work out, what should we not work out, what layers should go there. And obviously, you always have an upper hand if you have the proper knowledge of your system. Now we'll talk about modeling subsystems in different levels: 0D, 1D, 2D, and 3D. So in 0D, generally what we do, drive cycles, cells electrothermal models, control system lookup tables, FMI, ROMs. In 1D, what we do generally, pneumatic, hydraulic, thermal circuits, by thermal network. If we are able to make a thermal network of battery pack, that we can do. AC system. Generally, AC system we always do with 1D. In 2D, generally airflow and condenser radiators, thermal network. So when I say it's thermal circuits or thermal network model, it does not only, you can always expand it to 2D. You can always expand it to 3D. When I say 3D, generally on motor pack pulling, inside the motor, what is happening, hot spot determination, battery pack pulling, what is happening in the battery pack inside. Is there any temperature differential? Is there any hot spot? Power electronics cooling, especially to detect the hot spot. So this gives you the lumped or average values. 0D will give you the lumped or average value. 1D will give you slightly better lump. 2D will give you a slightly detailed. 3D will give you much detailed thing. So example, drive cycle. What we have, only velocity versus time. No X, Y, Z dependent. You have velocity versus time. You can draw drive cycles from that. Generally, where it is being used for vehicle pollution and the fuel economy as well as performance in normalized way. So what I am showing you here is the NADC cycle. It can be performed, this type of things can be performed on vehicle dynamometer, engine dynamometer, or on road, anything. For EV, we compare generally energy consumption per kilometer and efficiency as well as the performance. Now, the ability to model the vehicle powertrain using various 1D tools, this helps to understand the drive cycles complications. What would happen? What would be my watt hour per kilometer? And different other system we keep on running. This also helps. What would be our powertrain layout and sizing? What would be the thermal management demand? Now there is a certain other events like drive cycle, max loading events. Where would be such scenarios like sudden acceleration and braking? Such cases it could happen. High speed driving, fully loaded with the trailer. A vehicle is fully loaded and then there is a trailer at the back. A steep hill climb, you have more than 20-degree gradient. Extreme temperature operation, like in Rajasthan, you have a temperature reaching 52, 53 degrees centigrade. Charging at the hot and cold ambient. When you are charging, I see keep on a lot of questions coming. We'll answer it to you, don't worry. Charging at hot and cold ambient. When we say hot and cold ambient, like temperature at -20 degree, like in Leh and Ladakh, how can we charge it properly? Or in the Rajasthan, how can we charge? You know, extreme temperatures always create a problem for EV. These all events can be present together also. And in such cases, the stress on the vehicle would be much, much higher. What could be the stress? In battery pack. If you have a high discharge rate, then there would be a very high heat generation. E-motor, if you're loading it highly in all these conditions 1 to 6, you'll have very high heat generation. AC system, air conditioning system will have a very high power consumption. Thermal management, the vehicle, total vehicle heat management you have to take care. Power electronics, all the peak heating will happen in such cases. Simulation in such events, virtually, if we can simulate such event, it virtually validates the EV operation in extreme condition, which cannot be performed in the real. You cannot do all these problems in one go. Sudden acceleration or steep hill climbing or charging at hot and cold ambient. However, in simulation, you can do always all those things you can simulate in one go. Like thermal runaway, you cannot do the experiment in the vehicle level. However, on the simulation you can do, or on the component wise you can do. The example of 0D, the cell electrothermal model. So what we have here, that empirical electrothermal model. Then what from that we go slightly detailing, and that becomes we go to numerical models. If we have if we have ODs, generally we have analytical solution. If it is 2D, 3D, then generally we have numerical models, or sometimes we also say empirical models. What happens in such cases? This enables a much more dynamic load profiles, but higher computational cost. Analytical model, when I say numerical model, it enables simulation to be much more dynamic load profile, but much higher computational cost. When we have analytical model, compact simulation, very fast, very low computational cost. You can do most of the time on Excel sheet itself, like limited to constant current process in the vehicle. When I'm just discharging the battery in the lab at the constant current, such type of situation can be handled with analytical model. But if you are varying the current based upon the load, like what I have seen in the drive cycle in the earlier slide, in such cases you must have to go to a numerical model, but the computational cost would be much higher. So you need to bring out the good simulation tools, you need to have a very good computer, and it will take a lot of time, a lot of modeling effort is required in such cases. So what generally is being done? If you see in the cell, generally we use HPPC test data, and from there what we get is that internal resistance as the function of SOC, temperature, as well as the current. And from that we find out different second order equivalent circuits. And then we convert this circuit into 0D cell model. Now, we'll club this cell, multiple cells together, and can bring out to the pack. This can be clubbed with any other system. Now, control system, lookup tables and map. That's one of the ways that you take one particular parameter, convert it to the physics-based model, and then you convert it into 0D cell model. The another thing is the control systems, lookup tables and map. So instead of doing that way, you can also put maps of that system, measurement there, and then with extrapolation and interpolation, that would go somewhere wherever that would go to the places wherever that particular data is required. Like if you require engine speed, and if you have a lookup table here, then it will take that lookup table from that. From that, you have another lookup table like torque of compression for thermal management system. So it will bring down that torque here, and then other things, what would be the blower speed proportion, what is the internal temperature, and then what would be the temperature out of the AC. Now this T out can be directly fed to your 3D model. So all the controls, whatever you require here, that whenever you require thermal management based upon this T out, now the another T would be coming here, thermometer display. Based upon that, it will come check the cabin temperature, if cabin temperature is matching or not. Depending upon this, all the things will keep on going together and keep on iterating with each other from the information from outside as well as from the inside. So when I say lookup table, so what I said here, that like you say, engine speed and torque compression. In other case, now what you require is here the motor efficiency. What would be the motor efficiency? So you have already put a lookup table. From that, as soon as you are saying my RPM is 2000 or 2500 or 2000 accordingly, and at this degree, this is the temperature, it will go to that level. This is the torque, and it will go to that torque level and check that what is the efficiency at that level. And that efficiency, it will put it into the simulation, and then it will move forward. So this lookup tables could be multi-dimensional matrix directly representing input and output without performing any calculation. So generally it's very fast. So you have already done this with your experiment. Very fast, it just pick up that data and show it back to you. When you are running multiple subsystems, so each of the subsystems, it picks those data related to that, and then interpolate, extrapolate, and give you the output that this is supposed to be the output. a very fast, easy, and very useful to model complex functions and replicate test data like speed versus torque versus efficiency. What would be the speed? What would be the torque? What would be the efficiency at one go? Like air velocity versus heat transfer coefficient. If the air velocity is 2 meters per second, what is the heat transfer coefficient at that moment? If air velocity is 5 meters per second, what would be the heat transfer coefficient at that moment? And then by using that heat transfer coefficient, other calculation would be taken care in the condenser or any heat exchanger. Like something like heat exchanger performance data. When I say heat exchanger performance data, it depends upon various things. Air velocity, then the coolant which is going on the heat exchanger, what is the coolant rate, what is the air velocity, what is the temperature of the coolant, what is the air temperature, what is the input air temperature, what is the output air temperature, what is the input coolant temperature, what is the output coolant temperature, what is the mass flow of the coolant. All those things together, you experiment it or simulated it and put it as a lookup table. Now, when you put this lookup table for the heat exchanger, that you don't require any more simulation of when you're using as a whole vehicle. Whenever that situation will arise, that 2 meters per second is the vehicle speed, what it will do, it will take out all the information from the lookup table for that 2 meters per second data. Now the vehicle speed has changed. Now air speed has become 5 meters per second. So accordingly, it will take up all the data related to the 5 meters per second condition. Another example is powertrain sizing. Now what you require? You require the experiment, torque versus speed, and then you also have efficiency here. So this is 3D lookup table. Now you already have a model done here, already measurement done here. Now you wanted to put that motor into the vehicle. Now you don't know at what RPM motor should run, because there would not be a constant RPM. It could keep on changing. So it won't do simulation of motor. What it will do, it will take up all the data from this lookup table. So other system can do the physics-based simulation, but this system would be taking the data from the lookup table, and then the simulation becomes very fast if you do the detailed motor model. But when you're using the lookup table, easy integration and quick solution, and performance possible to perform DOE for the various scenarios. Functional mockup or reduced order modeling. So let's suppose there are several companies involved in several vendors involved in motor development. So company A is developing a EV which requires a motor, and that company B that develops e-motor. Now company A requests company B that you give me your e-motor model so that I can simulate my vehicle or vehicle with your motor performance, how my vehicle is running, what would be speed of my vehicle, what would be the load of the vehicle on the meter, what would be my energy consumption. The problem is, another problem is that company A is using MATLAB, however company B is using Modelica. If the company A as well as B would have been using MATLAB, it would have been much easy to integrate both the model together. But company A is using MATLAB, but company B is using Modelica. The another problem is there that company B doesn't want to disclose their whole motor architecture, how they have checked it, because company A can always reverse engineer that motor based upon their information. The company B doesn't want to give the model as it is, and the A doesn't want to use Modelica separately. So another issue is there that since company A is using MATLAB, company A doesn't want to use Modelica separately to just check that model. So in such cases, how can they exchange the models? So there is something known as functional mockup interface. It's the same thing as in CAD, STEP, IGS. So it's a neutral file format. You can open it either with using CATIA, or you can use AutoCAD, you can use SolidWorks or any other CAD file. when you save the file as a step and IGS and then give it to other. So this MFI is something like similar. Now this has another good thing also. You can always give, company B can always give his model as a black box. He'll not disclose the model. What input is required for that model, he'll say to company A, and what output it would give, that he'll say to company A. And company A would still be able to use this model and to see what would be his vehicle performance. So the various advantage it has, you can go in the black box mode that you don't need to reveal anything other than the input and output. Everything else can be hidden. It cannot be decomposed. That means you have already security there. Lightweight and particularly very useful in the code simulation. Now, as soon as you know input and output and neutral format, now this model can easily be used in MATLAB, which company I want, to check its vehicle performance. And at the same time, company B's all the information is kept confidential, and still it is able to give what company A wants. Almost real-time simulation, not always, but most of the time it's a real-time simulation. Sometimes what happens, the company B can give even its own controller, whole control, field controller, and can say these are the inputs and outputs coming out from that. So you select that one, put it in your MATLAB code, which will keep on reading that one. So it can combine hardware as well as software tools. There is a very good thing about analog is, so if you see the physical system, irrespective of nature, either it's electrical or it is thermal or mechanical or fluid, most of the time the equation used are similar in nature or of the same order or the similar look-wise, similar functional thing. And that can be modeled based upon the below analog. It's simple things like in electrical, if you see current is nothing but dq by dt. Now the similar thing comes in the fluid flow. These are flow variables, current. In electrical, it becomes current. In fluid domain, it becomes fluid flow. In thermal domain, it becomes heat flow. Similar by potential variable. In electrical, it comes as a voltage. In fluid, it comes as a pressure drop. In thermal, it comes as a temperature difference. Integrating elements like delay components, like inductance. Here it's inertance, how much inertia it has. In thermal, generally we talk about thermal inertia, but not much on that one. Proportional element, like in electrical, it's a resistance. In fluid, we say it's a fluid resistance. In the thermal, we say it's a heat transfer resistance. The equations are almost of the similar type. Only thing that variable changes. And if you know one equation, you can utilize the same model to the other thing by changing its parameters. Differential components like capacitance, here it becomes fluid capacitance, thermal heat capacity, other variables like charge, what laws we use in the Kirchhoff laws. So the current at any junction would be 0. The similar thing is that the pressure at any point would be, all incoming flow and outgoing flow would be the same at any point. Similar way, the heat coming and going out at any point would be equal. So those things like in power, kinetic energy, potential energy. So most of the time, if you club together electrical, fluid, thermal, and design, mechanical, all those things, many of the time, most of the time, the equations are similar. Only thing that parameters get changed or the name of that parameter gets changed. So let's take example of a fluid circuit. What's the basic element of 1D fluid circuits, like flow elements like pipe, connectors. Then something comes as control elements like valve, orifice. Then comes supply elements, pump, compressor. Then comes storage elements like reservoir. It's a coolant reservoir in IC engine as well as in electric vehicle. Actuators like linear, rotary cylinders, etc. How can we do that? Now you see here, I have a E motor, then there is a motor controller, then there is a reservoir here, then there is a radiator here. So if I make a model of 1D model of these all the things together, I just need to club together all the things together to get a 1D model of that. Now this same 1D model, this is example of a GT. What we have done, 1D model has been made for all those things, and that's all the things clubbed together. And wherever there any type of resistance or pressure drop or the heat generation is there, that we have added, and then it becomes a full E-drive cooling circuit in the 1D model. Now the refrigerant circuit, when I say refrigerant circuit, it's basically air conditioning system. Now, how can we build the most basic elements like compressor, valve, pipe, valves, heat exchangers? This all we have already done a 1D model in the last slide here. Many of this. Now, what I have to do, I have to combine together all those things through the 1D model. The communication passes of parameter passes with each other, and performance of these components, like if you see heat exchanger, evaporator, or condenser, is available even if most of the time at the start of the project. If not for that particular project, maybe very nearby component performance data are available, which we can always use as a starting point. Then sizing studies. Now, once we have the data, those sizing studies for different layouts. Should I keep my condenser in front of the vehicle or at the rear of the vehicle, or at some angle, or at the same level? I should keep it before the radiator or after the radiator. So all those studies can be taken. What would be the size? What would be the in centimeter size? What would be the frontal opening area? All those things can be done at the very initial stage. Now, if you see here, so these all three are heat exchangers: condenser, evaporator, and rear evaporator in a vehicle. If these two would be in the cabin and this condenser would be in front of the vehicle, then we have different valves, pipes and valves. Here, pipes and then valves. It could be one of the TXV, it could be one of the pipes there. Then we have a compressor here. The compressor 1D model is generally available. If not available, it can be done very quickly through this graph here. Then we have receiver dryers. That means reservoirs. And then you run this whole simulation together and you keep on looking on the performance on your screen using a pH diagram. That's where you have the maximum, when you have a maximum cooling capacity. Now, what I have shown you here is the heat exchanger, the three heat exchanger. Let's take next as a heat exchanger. Now, how can we do that? When the air flows over that one, you see the velocity at different places. One here it is 2.2 meter per second. Here it is 3.3 meter per second. Here it is 5.5 meter per second. And when I need to look upon the heat exchanger, how this heat exchanger is exactly working on, in that case, I may like to go to 2D simulation. Now, once we have done the 2D simulation, now this, what I see here, that there is no uniformity in the air velocity. So there could be this region, especially this region would be very much cool. This region may not cool properly. In such cases, how we can do that thing? So in such cases, we can, when we are designing that heat exchanger in the last slide, what I say you here, I can put a small heat exchanger, multiple heat exchangers like this way together here, and then each heat exchanger would represent as a small part of this heat exchanger. And then I club together in parallel and series, and then we see how the things works out. So that is also possible, but still it would be much faster than putting a 3D model there. Where we would like to do the 3D simulation. Now, if I have to see the airflow in such cases, we must need to do the 3D simulation, because we don't know from where the air is coming and how it is getting distributed all over the pack. Why I have to do the two things? First is the temperature, what would be the maximum temperature, and then the second thing, there is a temperature uniformity or not. But if I have done in a couple of times this simulation, airflow simulation here, in such cases we can discretize that in the bigger part and can utilize it for 1D or 2D simulation. E-drive thermal system, how the coolant is flowing inside that. Now, in and out, how does that is going on that? In such cases, we may require to do, especially when we have to identify the hot spot. In such cases, we may like to go for 3D simulation. But what I'm trying to show you here, that whenever we are going to the subsystem and then component level, we go for high fidelity simulation like 3D or 2D. But when we are clubbing it together, we go to the low fidelity simulation like 3D to 2D, 2D to 1D, 1D to 0D to know more about the whole system, not as a component. Cabin comfort and HVAC system. So how the airflow distribution is happening, what would be the air temperature inside that? In such cases, we try to go for the 3D simulation. But when I wanted to utilize that HVAC system added here, the refrigerant circuit, then I have to club this 1D simulation here and this 3D simulation here, matching, talking with each other. That's what's temperature here, and accordingly this AC system would be getting optimized for that particular thing. Vehicle aerodynamic studies, whenever we are saying vehicle aerodynamics, generally we go for 3D simulation at the whole. But once we have for multiple points, then I'll directly use that map for my other system integration or simulation. What studies need to be carried out in such cases? So what we have is the vehicle aerodynamic, and then what we need to find out the flow through condenser, radiator, and fan modules, because that impacts vehicle aerodynamics a lot. Vehicle under good flow, how does it work out to be? Now, what are the prediction and outcome? The aerodynamic drag, mass flow rates, and losses through the CRFM. That means cooling system module here, which is placed here, the condenser and radiator module system along with the fan. If I can close this, my aerodynamic drag will come down, but I cannot close it because I still need this one. How much I should flow? Those type of studies is being done in this cases. Again, what would be the heat release from the radiator and condenser? What would be the mass flow rate of air, and then how much maximum heat it can take out from that cooling system? Heat transfer coefficient for like cabin, transmission, all those things, because if once I found out the heat transfer coefficient, much further simulation becomes much easy. I can always go to the 1D simulation in such cases. So initially I have to do the 3D simulation, but once I know the error drag, I can utilize that as for my 1D simulation. If I have to calibrate, what would be the CRFM model? In such cases, we can utilize these data, 3D data, to calibrate our CRFM model. Heat transfer coefficient, we can find out from this in interior as well as exterior to surface, and then I'll use that heat transfer coefficient only for my 1D model. The E-drive thermal system, if you talk about, what are the studies we need to carry out? The E-motor thermal management. Then the inverter, what we say again, the controller also. And then the transmission, if there is any. Generally, it would be 1 gear or 2 gear system, but there is a transmission. So those things, how that cooling is happening. What would be the prediction and outcome? The local component temperature, like the magnet temperature or the winding temperature. In the case of motor, in the case of controller or inverter, what would be the MOSFET temperature, or what would be the IGBT temperature? So those things would be the locally, how local hotspot you can say. Then it would be utilized for heat transfer analysis. As well, again, what we'll do, we'll try to find out what is the heat transfer coefficient, because of that's what temperature and the airflow we are getting. From that, what would be the heat transfer coefficient? And now, what is the basic input to the will be our input model? What is the heat generated by either the magnet or because of the core losses at that core, or in the winding because of the resistance, and those things can become as a heat generation to the coolant which is passing through that, or air. This would also help, this data, 3D data will also help to calibrate the thermal network model. The whole E-drive thermal management system can be calibrated if I have a 3D simulated data. But once this 3D, I may like to run 1 or 2 times. Once I have those data, I'll never go back to the 3D simulation. I would only go for the direct 1D simulation, which is much faster. Now, battery pack thermal analysis. What are the things we need to do? Battery pack heating, cooling, something very relevant to this discussion is the thermal runaway scenario. In such cases, again, what we would like to know is the local component, cell temperature, heat transfer analysis. That means basically the heat transfer coefficient, to finding out the heat transfer coefficient. Is there any temperature gradient inside the battery pack? That means if my temperature is 25 degree here and if my temperature is 30 degree here, that becomes a temperature gradient inside the battery pack itself. Is there any hot spot where the heat getting released and it's not getting cooled that particular area? Pressure drop and flow distribution. If there is somewhere heat hot spot, that means the flow is not going properly there. That means there is a much pressure drop to reach to that region. How can we reduce the pressure drop? What is the relevance to our 1D simulation? Now the whole heat released to the coolant, because this coolant is what is getting circulated here in the pipe. What would be the heat released to the coolant? Now calibration of this model, when I made 1D model of motor thermal network, the calibration of that. Heat drive thermal system for transient behavior. So what we have gotten from this 3D models, if you see what we have got is a detailed model, detailed data set. From that detailed data set, what we have made, either we can make a map or table, or we can find out the heat generation as well as the heat transfer coefficient. It could be local or combined heat transfer coefficient. And once we have done that, then we would like to go to the 1D parametric model or simple model. In such cases, we will create a complete analytical model with the network analysis, like what are the losses. These all are the losses, what you see here: Joule rotor, Joule stator, and then AD hysteresis losses there. Then what are the nodes, where the fluid volume nodes, those things I can put it here depending upon the architecture. Then resistances, will add the resistances accordingly. And then the material properties. Once we have done all those things, then this becomes equivalent to my 3D CFD model. The 3D CFD model, what we have done from that, those only we have got this data. Now running this again for another case or another condition will take the same time. However, this will take 1/100th or 1/1000 times to run, to know the what would be the condition at if I change the loading condition. Now if I integrate both these things together, in that case I have to just run this. Rest of the part would be coolant circuit would be taken care here, and the motor would be in the 3D. So in such cases, that calibrated 3D as well as 1D model, conjugate heat transfer model, that will give you much high accuracy and the full integration to 1D much faster. Similar way, the cell battery pack, cell to battery pack. What we do, initially we take the cell model, we try to find out the thermal domain because of internal resistance, and then we go to the 3D model. And in the 3D model, we try to simulate, we do the whole simulation of airflow, how the temperature is going on, and that it gives the information back to this one. This is what is the heat generation in such cases. And when we club together, so all these things together, then it becomes much more accurate model and much faster model. Now, the one next example, what we are showing is 1D battery associative model, then 3D CFD model, and 1D represent model. How can you club this thing together? At t equal to 0, you initialize the system. So all initialization parameter has gone to each of the system, whatever thing is required for one system, then for 3D airflow requirement, and then the refrigerant circuit requirement. Now in this condition, my SOC is 98%, the voltage is 72 volt, current is 0 ampere, because I'm just going to start. My battery pack temperature is 35 degree, the coolant temperature is 35 degree and ambient temperature is 35 degree. Heat generation in the pack is 0 watt. Similarly, AC circuit status, all evaporator, condenser, and temperature out, and what is the compressor speed. That's all the things. Now, for example, at T equal to 600 seconds, the power request from the motor is 2.8 kilowatt. What are the things we have to do? We have to solve for SOC, voltage, and current. These are the things we have to do. What is the current SOC is 96%, voltage is 70 volt, and the current is 40 ampere. Now this, what is the information need to be passed on to the battery thermal model is the I current, and that is what would be the heat generation because of that is I square R. Now we know what is the Q dot, that's 100 watt. Now the cell temperature from this, it as soon as it has gone there, the cell temperature it is showing now 50 degrees centigrade. Coolant temperature is 47 degrees centigrade. However, ambient temperature is 35 degrees. Why the temperature has rise? Because of the current. Now, what this will give me, this will give out is the coolant temperature of 47 degrees centigrade to the thermal management system or air conditioning system. What else it is looking for? The cell temperature 45 degrees C is greater than the safe limit. 25 degrees is my safe limit. Now it's activating the cooling system. It is solving everything, refrigerant properties, compressor speed, COP, heat rejection, and all the things together. Now it is sending back the coolant temperature at 20 degrees centigrade here, because it has done all the works here, and then it is saying that now coolant temperature is 20 degrees C. Now as soon as coolant temperature is 20 degrees C, now it will solve for the cell, what should be the cell temperature. Now my cell temperature has come down to 30 degrees C. Coolant temperature is 25 degrees C. Heat generation is still there because I'm still taking the current as 40 ampere. Now this will give to the 1D SOC model that cell temperature is 30 degrees centigrade. Now what the current it will go, and accordingly it will send the what would be the SOC. It will calculate all other things at 30 degrees centigrade. Now my SOC is 96 degrees centigrade, voltage is 70 volt, and the current is 40 ampere. So what you see here, there are a lot of parameters here, but it is not sending all the parameters to the other system. What it is sending, what is required to the other system. For other system, what is required? Input is required 40 ampere. Input is current is required. So it is sending the current value. Now for refrigeration circuit, what is required is the coolant temperature, and it is sending the coolant temperature out there. Now what is in again input for this is what is the coolant temperature coming from this one, and what is why SOC, for SOC what is required, the cell temperature. So it is sending the cell temperature to this one. So it is not sending all the temperature. It's only sending what is the. It is not sending all the parameters. What it is sending, whatever is required for that particular system, and all other things is doing by in that submodel itself. So with this, I have completed my slides. If you have any questions, this was the example of a code simulation, how it works exactly. Here I'm doing 0D, here I'm doing 1D, here I'm doing 3D, and how the information is getting passed out to each of them. So if you have any question, now you can ask. I'm really sorry, I'm not able to hear any of you.
Sir, the questions are posted in the chat box, sir. Mohan Paliyappan asked, are partial differential equations
I'm
posted?
still not able to hear you properly, sir. Should I?
Participants were posted their questions in the chat box. Sir.
Yeah, so should I unshare?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, fine. Just a minute.
Are partial differential equations used in the overlap zone of coupled analysis.
Just a minute, just a minute. Yeah. So in the chat window, I saw a lot of questions. So just let me go to chat window.
Yes, sir.
Yes, there is a question from Mohan Kaliappan. Is it a coupled multiphysics analysis? Yes, you can do what I was telling you. Pardon me. What I was talking about is a co-simulation. What you can, how you can utilize the co-simulation in thermal management. It could be used for coupled multiphysics analysis. It could be used for multi-order simulation. All the things are possible in the co-simulation. I was trying to give you some examples here and there how you can utilize. Are partial differential equations used in the overlap zone of the coupled analysis? Sometime yes, sometime no. It's how smooth or how fast you wanted to make, how simple you wanted to make your simulation scheme depends upon that. I have put a lot of software name there, so one has to be. There's the next question from Ashish Ramanlal. For thermal management system, which software is a better option? It's all about ease and availability. What you have, almost all softwares are good. It's you how you wanted to utilize it. FMI is functional mockup interface. ROM is reduced order modeling system. I have explained later on. Done some work with FMI or ROMS, Mohan sir? I do not understand why this question is. It's not only so co-simulation will help solve the thermal analysis of almost of any part of EV. Yes, it's not only thermal analysis. It can help you to solve other physics also. Like you wanted to club together the electromagnetics, or you wanted to club together the structural analysis. All those things will. Since I'm from thermal background, so I put more on the thermal side. It could help you in any direction, the co-simulation. And especially when you talk about EV, there is a lot of interaction between electrical and the thermal side. So like a battery model, if you wanted to make on the thermal model, the very first basic model is something like utilizing the internal resistance or internal impedance of a cell, and then converting it into the heat generation mode, and then going ahead with the thermal management system. So I was not telling you, I was not anyway talking about the battery, but yes, mostly we use metals a lot of time, then FRPs, then ABS, those type of material we use for battery battery system. Each one has its own advantage and disadvantage. If you have an active thermal management system, you would like to go for an insulating material such like ABS. If you have a passive thermal management system or no thermal management system, like for a smaller battery pack for two-wheeler, you would like to go with mostly with the metal, so that the heat, whatever is coming, can be dissipated outside. So there is no more question here, but if you wanted to have some more question, we have some time for 10-15 minutes. And that's why I try to finish the presentation in around 1 hour time so that we can discuss more. So whoever would like to ask the question may switch on their mic and can talk. It's a slightly different type of presentation, not exactly on thermal management.
Hello.
But clubbed together to thermal management so that you can utilize it more for that.
Yeah. Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, Ashish.
Sir, yes, sir. Sir, I'm Professor Ashish from Electrical Engineering Department, BVM Engineering College, Vallabh Vidyanagar, Gujarat. Sir, actually, our institute is having, one of the, let us say, lab that is under development, electric vehicle lab. So
Yeah.
we are looking for, let us say, various hardware and establishment and setups of hardwares as well as softwares also. So the simulation which I have seen here today finds very interesting and good, let us say, exposure will be possible for our students of UG and PG. So, sir, please throw some light. How can we purchase this software for our academic purpose?
So many of the time, what happens, they do not differentiate between academic and that thing. But a lot of people are trying to help academic. Like you can talk to GT people. They have set up in Pune.
Okay. Okay.
MATLAB would be also a good option because MATLAB is quite versatile. It can club together things. So they have also educational program on that, as well as on 3D. If you would like to go, ANSYS would be a good option because both structural as well as a thermal analysis you can do.
Yes, sir.
And moreover, this all the things I believe a lot in the Excel sheets.
Right, sir. Yeah, yeah, I have seen that, sir.
Yeah, so
I have seen that.
we have a course on the NPTEL this year, electric vehicle and renewable energy. I don't know any of from your college is attending that or not. So in fact, we have just put a small words here for 3D, 2D simulation. Most of the things what we try to do in that course is with Excel only.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have seen, I think the title I have seen in NPTEL, let us say, course.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I have seen that course. Thank you so much for your answer, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. So there are some questions like R, PVT, PET, peak, JETL. I have never heard of these words. So I'm working in the battery from last 4-5 years. So I don't know. That's from Mohan Kaliyappan. So I don't know. I don't have answer for that one. And a lot of thank you also for excellent presentation. So thank you very much for all of you. If there is any thing you need to discuss in future, you can always write a mail to me. Is there any relation EVCOF I1362 everyone? Is there any relation between load on the vehicle and the thermal energy? Yes, there is a direct linkage in that. As soon as your load increases, what will happen? Motor will draw more current. As soon as motor is drawing more current, there would be more heat generation in the battery pack because of I square law. And then your thermal management system has to work more to take out that heat from that system, from the battery pack. And as soon as more current is going on the motor also, again the same principle applies there. I square R losses are a lot there, and there are other losses also there. So those losses generally get increased. Anybody else? Any question? You can switch on your mic as well as your camera so that we can see and talk to you. So total, how many people are there present today? When you say that regression equations, yes, but nowadays you have a lot of memories in your computer. So 3D lookup table is much more better than using a regression equation, because the time spent in regression equation is a lot compared to using direct 3D map, 3D, 4D, 5D, any map. So we have 175 participants. That's great. And there is not much question coming up. So either you understood everything or you have not understood anything.
Sangaramurthy, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I see. Dr. Usarani, madam, can you ask some question?
Sir, Bibin sir, can I start, sir? Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yes, sir. On behalf of management, principal, dean, and Department of Mechanical Engineering, I thank Dr. Kaushal Kumar sir for provided a wonderful eye-opening session on electric vehicles opportunities and challenges in future India. You have given a lecture on the various topics in the CO simulation and EV thermal management system in various level of modeling coming from 0D, 1D, 2D, 3D, and the product development cycle, and why CO simulation, what happens to the CO simulation with the detailed with examples, and various software tools are used in that modeling system in the different levels, and drive cycles for the maximum loading events, and what is the control system, lookup tables and maps, and 1D physical model network models, and finally you have ended with the refrigeration circuit and a 3D thermal analysis and EV system, thermal management system for the CO simulation. Sir. Thank you, sir.